Good morning, my name is Chris Fox, and today we're talking about writing authentic dialogue, which is easier than a lot of us assume. I definitely struggled for a long time in writing good dialogue, and really it comes down to understanding the character who is speaking the words, understanding their mindset. And so what I've done is I put together a list of considerations that we'll go over in the second part of the video. We'll actually show my screen. And we'll talk about 4 considerations that you should be aware of when crafting dialogue. So, things like how old is that character and what is their social standing and who are they talking to and where are they talking to them? All of these things are very relevant. We as humans are a very tribal society and we have all these unwritten rules we tend to follow, sometimes without even knowing it. So you really need to be kind of aware of those things. Anyway, let's jump into the second part of the video. We will go over all 4 considerations and you can sort of see how I attempt to write authentic dialogue. Okay, so we are looking at a few exercises I threw together to illustrate what I mean by authentic dialogue and what considerations you should have about your characters when writing this stuff. So the first one that I start with is age. How old is your character? Because that absolutely influences how we speak and sort of overall what our outlook on life is. To take it to the extremes, if you are a 3-year-old, if you're an infant, you're a toddler rather, and you're just learning to speak, then you're using almost proto words like that you're being taught by your parents. So where's dad at? You're going to talk a little bit more like that if you're 3 years old. By the time a kid is 10, their vocabulary is increased. They might ask something like, where's daddy going? Because, they're still talking about dad as daddy. But by the time you're 16 years old, then most kids are going to say, where's dad going? Because that's how they're now addressing their father. So you can see how based on a character's age, what you might use is going to be a little bit different. Next, the second consideration, I look at education and station. So who is this person in their society and what is their overall level of education? The lower the social rank, the more open and free they tend to be and the more openly pejorative. So if we look at a lower social rank, she was the sourest tart I ever seen. I'd give 2 bits I ain't got for 5 minutes alone with her. This person is willing to talk crassly about a woman that they saw that was very attractive or that they considered to be attractive because, that's a little bit more acceptable on the street. If you look at the same example where someone has seen a woman they consider to be attractive in their middle class, they might approach it a little differently. So she was gorgeous, the kind of girl who says, buy me a farm, and you ask her where. So they're trying to express, I think this woman is really attractive, but how they do so is different based on their education and social standing and what, how they think about the opposite sex. And then finally, if you've got a more upper class story or more upper class characters that are talking about this, she was exquisite, rarer than the finest port and twice as sweet, the kind of girl you'd risk a scandal for. The things that you talk about are different at the upper class. Scandals are probably a lot more common than they would be for the lower or the middle class. People care a lot about the things that the upper class would care about. So you sort of want to capture that in your dialogue. So you notice that these examples are very different, but they're all talking about someone seeing a member of the opposite sex that they're attracted to. And you can sort of see how education and station can be used to shape that. And you can learn a lot about a character's background based on how they speak. You can infer this stuff. The next consideration is relationship and social setting. So where are you? Are you, in the comfort of your own home with your family, or are you at the middle of a high-stakes party where, your boss is? That's really going to shape how you speak. So if it's just you in your home with close family and friends, you're much more likely to use colloquial slang and contractions and to be relaxed in your speech. Hey, Ma, oh God, what is that heavenly smell? Are you making pasta? If you're in a social situation with peers, you're going out for a beer with coworkers, you're going to be a little bit more formal, but probably still somewhat relaxed because these people are on the same level as you. So, Charlotte, this is my mom. Mom, this is my friend Charlotte from work. It's fairly relaxed, a little bit formal, but people are generally smiling and kind and not, necessarily trying to put on airs. But if you're in a more higher stakes social situation with their betters or with upper class or your boss, you find that things get more formal. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Yes, thank you so much for inviting us. This is my mother, Isabella. She's a great lover of your work. So the way that you speak is definitely going to be different based on where you are and kind of who you're talking to and sort of how you perceive them in relation to your own social standing. And then finally, this last one, emotional state. If a character is angry, they're going to use brevity. Their phrases are going to be shorter. They're going to obviously have less logic involved in what they're doing. You can make them be a little bit more irrational. And they're going to be more emotive usually. When you've got speech surrounding their actions, their body language is where you're going to start having more of this manifest. The speech is going to be shorter. You're going to be using that brevity. So as an example, if you're angry, let me be clear. I will kick your ass, John, and I'll do it in front of your new boyfriend. You've got somebody angry making a bold claim and escalating a situation because they are angry. If they were in that same situation and walked up to the same person and were sad about what they were saying, so maybe this is their ex, I can't believe we let it come to this. He cut me out of his life completely. It's like I never even existed at all. So if you look at the language, we've got longer sentences and we're sort of lingering a little bit in this emotion and sort of wallowing a little bit in the sadness. It's affecting our speech in that way. And then finally, the last example, apathetic. Whatever. I just don't care anymore. So notice that it's super short, a lot like angry, but with a totally different emotion infused into it. So guys, this is meant to be a quick tip. Hopefully you find this sort of thing useful. I haven't done one of these in a while. Yeah, I hope that this sort of exercise gets you thinking about how you're shaping your dialogue, because you can tell so much about your characters based on every word that is said and how they speak and how long the sentences are and what types of words they choose to use. I could go on about this, for I'm sure some time, but I do need to get back to the writing. I just finished up this week's chapters for Dying World, and I'm jumping back into the Arc War. I just commissioned the cover for that and cannot wait to see the artwork. Anyway, guys, I will see you next week.